What time is it? Oh,
Say again? No, go on. It's fine.
oh, what time is it over there?
It is we've just gone 1 o'clock, 1 p.m.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So I've just had my lunch. I'm doing great while you're waking up. Are,
Yeah,
are you ready? We're gonna clap again, yeah?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Welcome to the Dr. Tom Show. Today, I am very excited to have an extremely knowledgeable gentleman join me from across the pond over in California. Dr. Cliff Tao, it's super great to have you on the show. Having started as a chiropractor many years ago, he's moved into the field of radiology, an absolute expert who speaks all around the world on this topic. He's published in literature for radiology, both medically and in chiropractic, and helps out many people with reading and determining X-rays around the world. So I am super honored to have you on the show, Cliff. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Tom. This is very exciting for me. I don't really get to talk to a whole lot of people, as doing radiology. We don't really get to see people or talk to people that much. So I'm very excited too. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I, quite selfishly, I'm happy to have you on the show because we have a mutual friend and she helps me with X-rays, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do without her. So the work that you do really is invaluable to a lot of people, not only the professionals that help, you help them with radiology, but the people that they're then serving. So, I think we must make note of that. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. But your whole journey started with chiropractic. So I'm intrigued. We've got a lot of chiropractors who listen to this. How did you get into chiropractic?
So I was in, I don't know what you guys call it over there. I used to call it university when I was in Canada, but now in the US, they call it college. And now I call it undergrad, just to make sure everyone knows what I'm talking about. So
Yes.
in undergraduate school, I was in kinesiology because I love the human body and anatomy. I'm into sports and physical education and stuff like that. And that's just what I liked. I didn't know what I was going to do with it at that time. And then as I came close to my senior year, I had a bunch of friends that wanted to go to chiropractic school. And I had, no idea what chiropractors were. And so I kind of looked into it. I went to see a couple chiros myself in college. And I was really into cycling at the time. And there was a cycling magazine called Bicycling, and in the magazine was a chiropractor who answered a bunch of questions. He was a columnist in the magazine. And I was like, man, this guy knows everything, like not just spine stuff, but biomechanics, exercise, all related to cycling. And, anything to do with cycling at the time, I was just like, yeah, 100%. That's what I'm going to do. So I was so impressed with this guy. Jeff Spencer was his name. And
I know
I think
Jeff,
he
yes.
eventually became a chiro, like on the Tour de France, like for Lance Armstrong and stuff like that. And I met him later on too. Pretty cool guy. And so that's what got me into chiropractic. And I didn't know about radiology until much later. I don't know, back it up a little bit. My dad is actually a medical radiologist, retired now. So, it's almost a mystery to me. I've asked my dad too. I'm like, hey, did you ever like show me some X-rays when I was like a little baby or something? And he's like, no, I didn't do any of that. My dad is more like, not hands off, but he's more like, hey, you do what you want to do. It doesn't matter what you do, but as long as you like it, you enjoy it, and you're going to be happy. My mom was like, oh no, you're going to be a doctor or you're going to be a lawyer. But my dad was like, no. So, we had a little bit of conflict there, but he's
Oh,
like,
well,
no,
you
just
appeased them
do it.
both, didn't you? So that's good.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, just do what you love. And I was like, is this right? I like the same thing that you do. And he's like, yeah, whatever, just do it. So he was fully on board with it. My mom was like, chiropractic, and now you want to do radiology like your dad? I don't know. So, but I don't know, turned out okay, I think.
Well, it certainly paid off. And I mean, I suppose when you started chiropractic, because, a lot of the colleges and where we learn chiropractic in this world is so different. And
It
there's a lot
is.
of different takes on the use of X-ray. Was X-ray something that was underpinned when you were going through undergrad, or was it something that you found later in your career?
Actually, when I was an undergrad, so even before Chiro school, I remember during my sports medicine class, Tom, they had showed an X-ray for something. I remember it was an open mouth view, and I was like, "Oh, that is so cool," But you don't really do anything with it as an undergrad. But I remember looking into it, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then when radiology came along in chiropractic school, I don't know, it just seemed that was like my happy place. Dude, I even spent extra time. Like I would get up early, not this early, Tom, for me, but I could get a little bit early once a week, and I would go into school early, and I'd hang out with the radiology guys, and they'd be reading X-rays from the day before, and I'd just hang out with them for that extra 45 minutes to an hour, and then I'd go to class. I did that every week, the whole time I was in Chiro school. And they're like, "Hey, are you gonna apply for radiology?" I'm like, I thought you had to be super smart, and it turns out you don't have to be that smart, Tom. You just have to. I think you just have to love radiology. You just have to have a passion for it. And to be honest, I'm not that smart. I think I'm good with radiology, but
Yeah.
all the other things I was just average with. I wasn't the smartest kid in the class, but I just loved radiology, and it was easy to me.
Well, I think
Um,
that's true in terms of our passion. Like, our passion makes us smart, doesn't it? It gives you the drive to want to learn what you want to learn.
yeah. And studying, it made studying so much easier. I mean, studying was still hard, to be honest, but man, if you like something, it's not that hard to study hard for, because you want to be good. You want to be the best at what you do. You want to be known for what you do. And so that's how I did it. And I don't know if this is dragging on too long, but I actually failed a course in chiropractic school. Not many people know that. And I thought I was doomed. Certainly felt like I was doomed, and I had to retake a class. And I don't know if you remember in chiropractic school, at least for us, if you fail something, you get pushed behind. So it's like everybody knows. So, but in order for me to stay with my class, I like secretly took two classes at the same time, just so I'd stay with my class, and no one knew that I failed except for a couple close friends of mine. So I just got it done. It was hard and, potentially very embarrassing. Now it's maybe the whole world will know.
Well, there you
But
go. But it's fine. Like, we
yeah,
learn from our
so,
mistakes.
even if you fail a class, I think you'll be okay. I think I turned out somewhat okay. I think I look okay, right, Tom? I think
You
I'm
look
doing
good.
okay.
Maybe a little bit red, we said before the show. for,
Yeah, I
those,
don't
for
know.
those listening on the podcast, they'll have no idea what we're talking about. So you know, I find X-rays fascinating. Even when you take that
They
X-ray and
are.
you've got the most basic, boring, quote unquote, spine in front of you, it's still fascinating to see inside the human body. Um, and do you get that fascination with every single X-ray that you see, or you kind of seen enough now?
Uh, to be honest, it comes and goes. So it is fascinating. I mean, like you think about it, it's this whatever quarter of a second or half a second snapshot into the body, but you can see from the front of the body to the back of the body, and then you can see sometimes the whole history of the body, stuff that's been there for years, within this half a second. And it's fascinating. During the day when I'm working, I'll spend 5 or 10 minutes looking at an X-ray. I probably don't get that fascinated because it kind of just slow me down. But every once in a while, especially when there's some what I think is a cool finding. And to be honest, all these cool findings are probably not cool findings for the chiro, or definitely not for the patient, but they're
Yeah,
cool for
true.
me. Just to be clear, I do empathize with the patient and the doc. I'm like, hey, I'm very sorry that your patient has this, that you have to
Mm.
break the news to them. But hey, can I call you later just to get like an update or what the clinical scenario is? I love the story aspect of it, because I don't get that routinely. I normally I get a picture, I get the name, the date of birth, the date of the X-ray, and maybe like a line or two in there. Most of the time, I don't get anything, and so I love contacting the chiro and just asking them, hey, why did they come see you, and did they even know this thing was there, and just figuring it out for them. And hopefully helping out the patient along the way too.
It's so true. And I love what you said then. It's actually really fascinating that split second that you take an X-ray for, you can really see the history of the person behind it. You can see how their spine is worn over time. You can see where you've physically used their body, or they've got some accelerated change. And I'm intrigued to get into that in terms of how important do you think X-ray is in terms of taking care of somebody with physical therapy, let's say chiropractic? How important do you think X-ray is?
I think it's, I realize I'm probably a little bit biased, but I think it's pretty important. We mentioned this, I think before we started recording, but, we have such a wide variety of chiros in our profession. But I think it really depends on how you practice. And, we serve all chiros. We don't really judge. Well, maybe I do judge a little bit, but but if you want your X-rays read, we'll read them. We're not going to judge you on why you took them or when you took them, how many you take. If you need help looking at them, we'll look at them. And there's some guys that I only hear from once a year, maybe every other year. I don't know how many X-rays are taken, and there's guys I hear from every day. So I think it is beneficial, but it varies. And I think it just depends on that chiro's practice. Are they using X-ray every day to educate and show patients, what's wrong with them? Or are they kind of more pathology or serious pathology driven? They just want to rule out bad stuff. And so, maybe those guys I don't hear from as often.
Yeah, and I think also, like, especially the way I work, I'm putting a force into somebody's body. And if we don't fully appreciate or understand that, I do think you are putting yourself at an enhanced risk, and having that knowledge to be able to make a better judgment is important. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and at fairly low risk too. So I mean I do want to, full disclosure, I was trained at I went to chiropractic school at National, and I did my radiology residency at LACC. These are very kind of medically oriented types of schools, and I learned that radiation was bad. Any amount of radiation was bad, and now it seems, well, now I'm not so sure. Now I'm reading all the literature, or not all, but maybe the newer literature that comes out, and it seems to be that it's not as bad as we thought. And the problem is I don't know where the limit is. It seems like the low amounts of radiation, which is X-ray, but when you get multiple X-rays, maybe that's when it starts to get a little bit hairy. But X-rays they seem to be so low risk now. I don't know about you, but I've never heard of anyone getting any complications from plain X-rays.
Well, I think so, but also being able to say that it definitely came from that exposure. Because for instance, there's a study done here, and a full spine X-ray would be about the same radiation, they'd say, as spending a week in Cornwall, which is the southernmost tip of the United Kingdom. So that county, from the bedrock, from the radioactive land that's there, if you spent 2 weeks there, it's like getting a full spine X-ray.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but it doesn't pay. It doesn't mean that there isn't risk, but then there's that risk benefit ratio, isn't there? Really, if to really get the best thing for your patient.
Yeah. So
what's your favorite? I'm really intrigued to know what your favorite view is. What's your favorite X-ray to be looking at? I'm really intrigued.
Favorite X-ray. Oh, like a favorite X-ray view? Probably. I'm gonna say the lateral cervical spine. If there's one X-ray, if I had to choose one, I think I would choose lateral cervical spine.
And why is that?
So that a couple of reasons. So it's got to be spine, right? Because that's what I see all the time. We're probably like, I don't know, 90% spine and 10% other stuff. So it's got to be in the spine. And then cervical spine, I'm a little bit biased. I have a ton of upper cervical guys in my, that send X-rays to me. So I don't want to piss them off. So oh, sorry. Darn it. My phone is ringing. We'll just have to wait for that to.
Someone else is up very early over there as well.
Yeah, I
Someone's
don't
telling you to be
know.
quiet. One of the two.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
So the cervical spine is in there, but I do believe the upper cervical is vastly different from the rest of the spine. So I love to have that in there, and the lateral cervical, as opposed to all the other views of cervical spine, is the most bang for your buck. So if you're going to take one, you take the lateral, then you can it's easy to rule out fractures and arthritis, degenerative stuff on there. Whereas on the other views, it's not as easy. So lateral cervical. I actually even have a book. I should have brought it here that I just recently published with the upper cervical guy. That's like I think it's like 50 different lateral cervical spine views, and that's all the book is. It's a bunch of
Really?
lateral. Yeah, I'll
Well,
send it to you if you like.
yeah, send us the details of that, and we'll put that definitely in the show notes for people to be able to find and get, because I think that'd be fascinating. I agree with you. My favorite view is the lateral cervical. I think for dictating somebody's care, it's the most important view we can take. I mean, for instance, I had a chap in this week, young physical chap, with some back discomfort, but something wasn't right. So I took a lateral cervical, and he had CT fusion and he had C1 C2 fusion.
Really
So he had double fusions
interesting.
in that neck, and it was fascinating to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that rare. We see it every once in a while, but every time you see it, you're like, man, what did this person do when they were in the
Yeah,
womb, or what did the mom do, or I don't know, these seemingly random things. I mean, we find out new things every day, especially now with the COVID pandemic. But I'm wondering one day they're going to figure out why we get these block vertebrae.
yeah.
Is
I
there
mean, block I
something?
see a lot, but to have the C1 still attached to C2, I thought was interesting. I think
Yeah,
I've seen
that
that twice.
I don't see that very often. Usually it's like 2, 3 or lower cervical. So yeah, that's a cool one. I
And what
like
would
it.
be your? So one of the great reasons I love is for these congenital anomalies, these normal variants that people
Yeah.
have. Um, what would what do you think is the most intriguing normal variant that you see? I'm intrigued for that one. That is worth
Intriguing.
seeing. So people say, "Oh, you don't need to X-ray to rule out normal variants," but they can impede or change how you take care for someone. So I've got
Yeah.
a lot of comments on that.
Intriguing normal variant. I'd have just kind of a broad spectrum is segmentation anomaly. So that includes, block vertebrae, because it's, in the radiology world, congenital block vertebrae are like a dime a dozen. We'll just say, congenital non-segmentation or whatever. But, it could have a profound effect on the patient if the chiro didn't even know about it, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't think I ever had a patient when I was seeing patients that had one, but I'd imagine if I was a good palpator and I palpated and I say, oh, C23 doesn't seem like it's moving, I should probably adjust it. But without an X-ray, I would just adjust it.
Mm.
But with an X-ray, there's no way I would adjust that, right? And why would I try to move something that was congenitally fused or never separated, to be more accurate.
Yeah. But
So
then again, I
it's
suppose they'll get the associated spinal degeneration against that, that fusion as well. So it really does
yeah,
change how you'd adjust that person. Like in my practice, for sure.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, in some guys, to be honest, it would not matter. They would still adjust it and deal with the consequences. And to be honest, I don't know if it really has a significant impact on their practice. So sounds like it doesn't. So yeah, it's been interesting ride for me just to realize the different I was going to say factions, but just the broad scope of chiropractors that we have in our wonderful profession.
This is so true, but I think that's the beauty of our profession. I really do, and you're in a unique position to really be engaging with all different portions of the profession, which I think is a beautiful place to be. But also the world of X-ray is changing. The world of imaging is changing, and we see MRI now, like in sort of the Scandinavian countries. Over here, people will be put into an MRI, not in chiropractic, but in medicine, before they're put into an X-ray. Here, people
Hmm.
still have to go through an X-ray before they then get an upgraded version of imaging.
Yeah.
What do you think the future of imaging is? Do you think X-ray will ever be changed, replaced, or do you think it's always got a solid foundation that can't really be beat?
That's a good question. You know, I guess no one really knows for sure, but I feel like X-rays are around to stay. I mean, it's by far the most used imaging modality out there. Compared to ultrasound, CT, MRI, all those things. Number one in terms of utilization by far. So I really can't see it going away, and it's relatively cheap compared to the other ones. Um, Even with it going from analog to digital within the past 15 years or so, we still have chiros using analog X-ray. And everyone thought it'd be completely obliterated by now. So at least in the chiropractic profession, I can't see X-ray going away. We do lag a little bit behind the medical industry, which is fine. But even in the medical radiology world, I don't think it would go away. It's too easy of a modality to do. Um, so there'll be developments in X-ray, but the basic X-ray thing I think will stay, and there'll be developments in other imaging too. CBCT, for example, I don't know if you've heard of that one.
No, no.
We have a lot of them here in the U.S. Well, I don't. It's not that many, but it's common usage for dentists. They use it too. It's like a little mini CT, so they can
Yeah.
CT the jaw for whatever they do. But the upper cervicals are in there too. So we have a lot of upper cervical docs with the CBCT machine,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, it's like a little mini CT that you can have
So
in
does
your own
that therefore
office.
construct them more of a 3D image, I suppose? Is that
Yeah,
what
you
it'll
can
do?
do
Wow.
really good 3D images. I was actually just looking right before we hopped on here. So yeah,
Wow.
so it's coming out with new stuff all the time, and if not a specific modality like MRI, have all these, you have T1 weighted, T2 weighted. They're coming up with new sequences every year. There's new sequences. What's a better thing to look at some weird disease or something. Yeah. In spine, it's been pretty stable. T1, T2, stir or what have you. At least in chiropractic world. But yeah, so I think yeah. There's always developments, but X-ray I don't think will ever go away.
And I'd probably be inclined to agree. You've been in private radiology practice for 16 years. I mean, have you seen purely in X-ray an improvement in the quality of X-rays that you see, an improvement in how people are taking them? Have you got any tips for people in terms of what you'd say in terms of things to focus on when they're doing X-ray? Let's stick with the spine. Um, if you've got anything on that, would be brilliant.
Yeah, I have a bit to say, I guess. So first of all, we don't have access, at least in the U.S. Typically, uh, you know, X-ray machines can go for, let's say, anywhere from like 20 grand to 300 grand. So, there's a big,
Mm.
difference in quality. And most chiros probably can't afford the Ferrari of X-ray machines. And we don't need to because they come with a lot of bells and whistles that we don't use. But if you see the images on these $300,000 machines, you'd see why. They're
Mm.
faster and they give you, better, crisper images. So we're limited a little bit by the quality of our X-ray machines. So I think we have to be a little bit even more meticulous about our technique. And I feel like chiropractors should be the best at positioning because we know the anatomy the best. But that's not what I see in practice. So I see a lot of poorly positioned X-rays and the technique, like, factoring, choosing the right MAS, collimating, choosing the right KVP. I think we could do much better. And so I would encourage you, if you're taking X-rays, review your notes, try to make your images better. Be the photographer of your patient's spine and get better pictures. I think it helps me just because it I love looking at good quality images. I know I'm doing a good job. But if it's poor quality images, I'm a little bit limited as to
Mm.
the quality of the job that I can do. So uh, I really appreciate when there's there's good quality X-rays that we get.
I would agree with that, and I'd say I tend to be quite, I certainly get a bit of a thrill when I know I've taken a really good quality image. But it's it is hard because you set your factors, but you still just don't quite know what's going to come back out. And I'd say we've got a higher to middle of the road machine in our practice, and
Hmm.
currently in this country we do have stipulation in terms of professional development, but it doesn't always have to include X-ray, which is really interesting. But that's changing at the moment. So, you
Hmm.
know, being mandated to keep on top of your standards is something that really should be there. I believe really should.
Yeah.
So, sort of in closing, and I have got so much from this, and I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Oh, me too.
Your
Thank you.
knowledge is incredible, and I just wondered whether you had any sort of tips or advice or anything that you'd leave our audience with.
Oh, let me see. Well, I don't know. I guess just in the beginning we talked about your passion, and I know that that's what you like to kind of impart with your audience. So that's something I truly believe. Just and almost to a fault. I didn't get into this, but I just followed radiology because I knew I loved it. I knew that it kind of came easy to me, and I didn't look into the finances of it, Tom. So had I looked into it, maybe I wouldn't have done it because it was kind of hard in the beginning, and I'm not, you know, no business guy. I had no business sense at all, and was actually very against it. So, yeah, I would say, follow your passion, but be smarter than I was about doing it. Do your homework. You know, uh, God gave us all these resources to the internet. You can do so much research so easily now. Do your research before you're going into something, but make it about your passion and make it about something that you actually are happy doing and that you enjoy doing, and be the best that you can be. Be known for doing what you do and doing what you love.
I really appreciate that. It's a fantastic to be the best and be known for doing what you love. Um, Cliff, where can people find out more about you if they want to connect with you or, get your expert help? Where can people contact you?
Oh, I'm fairly active on social media, Facebook and LinkedIn only. I am on Instagram, but rarely. It's like I can't handle another account, but I have it there.
Yeah,
Or they can go to my website. I think I can provide you a link later
yeah.
if you want. But yeah, I am fairly active on there. You can email me, Facebook message me, or LinkedIn message me, and I'll reply within a reasonable time frame.
Really appreciate that. So we'll definitely, when you send me the link, we'll definitely put it in the show notes for people to see. Um, Cliff, thank you very much for being on the show today. I've really appreciated your knowledge, your wisdom, and I know so many people are going to get some huge benefit from that. So thank you very much for sharing with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. It was a pleasure to be here. Loved it. I'm gonna go take a nap now, though.
Well, you sleep well, and we'll connect soon. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks, man.
Well, thank you very much. Sometimes when I press stop recording now, it does cut itself out. So if it does, I'll send you an email.
Okay.
But thank you very much, Cliff. I really appreciate that today. Thank you.
No problem. So I'm gonna pull up your email here. Send you what do you need? Like a website link
Yeah, if you
or?
just send me a website link,
Okay.
and then I'll put them in the show notes for you.
Okay. Can I do website link, Facebook page, or
Yeah,
can
do
you do
website
that
link
too?
and Facebook page, and then that'd be perfect. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll try to, if you don't mind, I can send you this lateral cervical spine book. I, I should have extra copies around here. I should have brought it with me so you can see it. It's not actually not my project. It was I don't know if you know Joaquin Valdivia. He's a what do you call him? BCAO, Atlas orthogonal guy.
Yes. Yeah.
in Spain, and we did. It was more his project. I mean, he organized everything and all that stuff. So we just got it within the past few weeks. So I'll send you a copy if you don't mind sending me your. Just reply to the email once
I will
you
do.
get it
I
with
really
the
appreciate that. Thank you.
address.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That was fun.
I enjoyed that, and you know, we'll connect soon. And if there's anything I can do to help you, then please do. Please do let me know.
Will do. Thank you,
All right.
Tom.
You take care. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Bye now.